Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva bandhuscha sakha Tvameva Tvameva vidyadravitam Tvameva Tvameva sarvam mama deva deva Tvameva sarvam mama deva deva. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So we are continuing in the 11th chapter, where Krishna is showing Arjuna the divine vision, his cosmic self. So what verse are we on?
Starting on verse 17, yes.
Verse 17. Will you help us out, please?
Kiritinam Gadinam Chakranam Cha Tejo Rashim Sarvato Deeptamantam Pashyami Tvam Turniriksham Samantat Deeptana Larkadyutimam Pramayam. I see thee with crown, club, and discus, a mass of radiance shining everywhere, very hard to look at, all round blazing like burning fire and sun, and incomprehensible.
Yes. So again, this is poetry. It's not so much that you and I are going to have a vision of a form of Krishna like this. It's very interesting because I have yet to meet a devout Hindu who's had a visitation of the Blessed Virgin Mary. And I have yet to have a devout Catholic have a vision of the divine form of Krishna. So is one seeing the truth and the other not? No. So we're almost finished with the first chapter of the Kenopanishad on Saturday mornings, where the Rishi thunders, it is not that which you worship here. So why are we enjoying to worship a divine form, be it just a little one in the mandir or getting a vision of a cosmic form. This is what we call upasana. These are forms of worship. They are not in conflict. They do not contradict the non-dual truth, which thunders, I am Atma, Brahma. God is yourself. But the various practices of worship are preliminary. They open the heart, they quieten the mind, and make the intellect subtle enough. Shuddha buddhi, so that it can begin the deeper practices of self-inquiry. Swamiji used to say, that person who reads the Vedanta, but still is deeply identified with the personality and denies the existence of a personal God, is going to be in deep trouble, because when a crisis arises, you're left with nothing but your puny personal willpower and ego. So do not let philosophical inconsistency stand in the way of getting some help. So if we're ego identified, as 99.999% of all the people in the world are, maybe you and me too, and we're having a hard time, what do? Ishvara pranidhana, trustful surrender to God. Now, I can't remember if we talked about this last time. Did we talk about how the way in which we pray reveals our real theology? Did we talk about this? No. Okay. So you may have ideas about God being omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, etc. But when you're in trouble, how do you pray? And many of us have a prayer that's something like, oh God, please save Aunt Mary. Oh God, please make my boss give me the raise I want. Have any of you prayed that way? Yes? No? Yes. Yeah. But what does it say about your God? I'll be honest with you. It says you have a neurotic God. Come on, Deepa. Beg. I love it when you beg. If you beg and I'm in a good mood, little grace. Is that your God? There's no such God. There's no such God. God is not our errand boy. Oh, I feel so connected with God. Why? Because I got what I wanted. Is that your idea of God? Now, the way many Christians resolve that is they essentially have two gods. They've got a goody-goody God, which gives them all the good stuff. Then there's this mean old devil, which is responsible for all the bad stuff. But in Vedanta, there is an intelligence that's running the universe. We call it Ishvara. When we study Mandukya Upanishad, it's called the total vasana. But it is beyond our worldly ideas of good and evil. There is no situation that is outside of consciousness, that's outside of God. Now, here's an interesting point. In this universe, there are physical laws, gravity, speed of light, etc. And there are metaphysical laws. The law of karma. But here is one of Ishvara's metaphysical laws. It's the law of love. So many religions, East and West, of God is love. So what happens when a particular physical entity starts to go against the law of love, the law of ahimsa, non-injury? Remember, whatever you put out comes back. That's the law of karma. And we end up pulling the plug on our source. And we essentially vibe ourselves right out of physical existence. So if a person is filled with hatred, filled with resentment, filled with fear, filled with anger, frequently they will make themselves sick, and it may even kill them. And it will certainly disempower them and make them miserable. Again, we are not punished for our sins. We are punished by them. This is the universe's way of directing us toward the infinite. It's a response to our suffering. We finally give up stupid ideas. Any thoughts on this? But later on, we're going to see that some of these metaphysical laws are hard for us to accept. And the biggest one, Krishna is going to say, I'm kind of skipping ahead here, I am all devouring time. For example, 99% of all the species that have ever existed on the earth are extinct. Whatever you have, whomever you love, whatever situation is going on, I promise you it will pass. Oh. So if I'm having a crappy mind state, don't worry, it will pass. Oh, Jim, I'm having such a great meditation. I felt so tuned in and connected. Don't worry, it will pass. So knowledge allows us to stand back and not have unrealistic expectations of the world. Now, this is not an invitation to nihilism. This is an invitation to cherish the world because, as beautiful as it is, in an incredibly short period of time, it goes. Who here has bought cut flowers and put them in your house? Do you expect them to stay there forever? What happens after a couple weeks? Fall away. Yeah. Is that unexpected? No. Do you not buy the flowers because in 2 weeks you're going to toss them?
Sometimes.
Well, that's usually for me about money. But when I buy a dozen roses, it's with the firm knowledge this is temporary. But it doesn't mean I don't enjoy. It's just with the clear knowledge. This is temporary. Everything. But the deeper meaning of this section of Gita is everything in the world of form is Saguna Brahman, consciousness appearing as name and form. There's a permanent part of it, consciousness. And there's an impermanent part of it, the forms themselves. Brahma Satyam Jagan Nitya. Brahman alone is real. The forms are mithya, illusory. They are anitya. They are not eternal. And so much of our suffering is we have this unrealistic expectation of the world. Our pets die. Our parents die. You and I are going to die. That's not a reason to go to bed and pull the covers up. It's not a reason to live in fear. It's a reason to cherish life because we're so aware of its impermanence without attachment. Any thoughts on this? We lose something, okay, I'm sad. But if we keep holding on to the loss, we're missing the beauty of the now. Any thoughts on that? Now, Krishna touches on this briefly in the second chapter of But he goes into this notion more deeply here. So here we have mystical symbolism. We have a literary device of this form with discus and mace and stuff like that. It's there. And the idea is when we're in trouble, of course, hang on to the feet of the Lord. It doesn't have to be Krishna. It can be whatever your Ishta Devata is, your wished for deity. God as you understand God. God as you can approach God. Second chapter, Krishna has said, whatever way people approach me, so am I to them. God's love, God's grace, God's mercy, God's forgiveness, God's healing is a constant. What's our job? Let go. Turn towards the infinite. Avail ourselves of that grace. We had the metaphor in chapters 3, 4, and 5 of the yajna, the Vedic sacrifice. The invitation is, my life is an oblation. It's a sacrificial gift to the infinite. I give my will, my life, my work, everything to you, Krishna. Now, in time when the mind gets quiet, we can take up the teaching from King Upanishad. Actually, it's not that which you worship here. It's your very self. What is it that the eye cannot see, but because of which the eye can see? What is it that the ear cannot hear, but because of which the ear can hear? What is it that the mind cannot grasp, but because of which the mind can think and feel? That's really what Krishna is. Any thoughts? Next verse.
त्वमक्षरं परमं वेदितव्यं त्वमस्य विश्वस्य परं निधानम् त्वमव्ययः शाश्वतधर्मगुप्ता सनातनस्त्वं पुरुषो मतो मे. You are the imperishable, the supreme being, worthy to be known. You are the great treasure house of this universe. You are the imperishable protector of the eternal Dharma. In my opinion, you are the ancient Purusha.
Yes. So, what we're dealing with in this chapter, well, let me phrase it this way. There are 3 questions that are given to us in Yoga Vasishta, which really summarize the issue. First, who am I? Second one, what is this world? And third, how has it come about? So that's what we're dealing with. The first question, what we call Nirguna Brahman, Brahman without qualities. How do I come to know it? We take up that standard, that very powerful practice of discrimination between the self, not self. For example, can you see the bowl on the table? Yes. You're not a bowl, you're the one who sees it. You are not the body. You are the knower of the body. You are not the prana. You are the knower of the prana. You are not the mind and all its feelings. You are the knower of the mind. You are not the intellect, the buddhi and all its thoughts. You are the knower of them. You're not the karta, the agent, which you actually observe happening in the subtle intellect. The knower of it. You're not even a mass of unconsciousness. You know the delicious darkness of deep sleep. Oh, who are you? Sakshi, the witness. Chidakasha, the space of purity. Well, and the Nishankara says in Viveka Chudamani in so many words. Guess what? We lied. There's no not self. What we have been calling the not self is also Brahman. Brahman with qualities. Sa Guna Brahman. Answering that second question. What is this world? How does it come about? Third question. And it becomes easy to understand if we go to the dream state. You are the God of your dream. You create a dream body with a dream ego, perceiving a dream world, and having dream thoughts and feelings and reactions. But all of it is nothing but your individual mind appearing as that. There's no real duality between the dreamer and the dream body and the dream world that she or he perceives. It's all just your mind. This is no different. Only difference is you and the dreamer. Ishwara is dreaming all this. But you and I create our identification with this body, mind, intellect. That's my avidya, my personal. So the invitation is to begin to meditate on the fact all this world is like a dream. The names and forms are just imagination. What's really here is consciousness. Don't worry. What's real, what's Baba, what's being, what's Sat, never touched. What about my brother who died, my mother, my father who died, my pets who have died? They are fine. Only the Nama Rupa has changed. And that's constantly changing. No being has ceased to exist. Ever. So we start by being open to that possibility. Then through abhyasa, vairagya, long and continuous practice, letting go, letting go. This philosophical idea becomes a real experience. So Krishna, in the language of poetry, is saying, all this is nothing but Krishna. All this is nothing but consciousness appearing as name and form. Brahma Satyam Jagat Mithya. That alone is real. Jagat, the phenomenal world, is imagination. It's Mithya. Right. It's all right. And if someone were to come to you and say, I don't believe the earth is a sphere, I think it's a flat earth, or I don't believe in gravity, is that going to affect the shape of the earth or the force of gravity? No. No. Either God is or God isn't. My belief has nothing to do with it, but it sure will color my perception. If I believe the relative is their body, I think they are God. Doesn't make it so, it's just my belief. Next verse.
Great stuff. Anadimadhyantamanantaviryam anantabahum shashisuryanetram pashyami tvam deeptahutashavakram swatejasa vishwamidam tapantam. I see you without beginning, middle, or end, infinite in power, of endless arms, the sun and moon being your eyes, the burning fire your mouth, heating the whole universe with your radiance.
So again, Krishna as Nirguna Brahman, consciousness itself is the container of the whole universe, but everything in the universe is Krishna. So all the arms and legs and mouths and everything is Krishna. And yet all the things and beings that appear to have Sat existence and Chit consciousness, it is borrowed from consciousness. The sages use this wonderful metaphor of the blacksmith who has a forge. In the forge, there's a hot fire. The fire is luminous. The fire is hot. The fire has no form. And we take the cold, dark, solid piece of iron. If you put the piece of iron in the forge fire, the iron borrows the dharma of the fire. The iron becomes red hot, then starts to melt and become malleable. It starts to lose its form. Remove the iron from the fire, it goes back to its cold, hard, rigid shape. So also, it is because of the asparsha yoga, the touch of the untouched, this Brahman contact, that things appear to be. Beings appear to move, are alive. Higher beings appear to have mind, consciousness. But it's all borrowed glory from the self. In that last verse, Krishna had said, or Arjuna had said, I see you as the ancient Purusha. This is language that goes all the way back to the Purusha Sukha, the oldest hymns in the Vedas. Here he's riffing on it, where the sun and the moon are your eyes, etc. It's an anthropomorphic description of the cosmos. The ancient Purusha. Meaning, consciousness is the being and the form of everything. Here, Guna Brahman, Brahman without qualities, always experienced as I, Saguna Brahman, the world of name and form, all the objects, emotions, and thoughts, my body, mind, intellect, and the perceiver, feeler, thinker entity. Saguna Brahman. Next verse.
द्यावा पृथिव्योरिदमन्तरं हि व्याप्तं त्वयैकेन दिशश्च सर्वा दृष्ट्वाद्भुतं रूपमुग्रं तवेदं लोकत्रयं प्रव्यथितं महात्मन्. This space between earth and the heavens and all the quarters is filled by you alone. Having seen this, your wonderful and terrible form, the three worlds are trembling with fear, O great-souled being.
And does he use the word bhaya, or does he use another word for fear?
It just says Rupa Ugram Tavedam Lokatrayam.
I would rather translate it as awe and fear. So the idea here is consciousness pervades the phenomenal world in the space between stuff. Now, this is an interesting little exercise. Put your finger about a foot or 2 feet in front of your face. Now take your other finger and put it in the distance between. And look at the finger that's in between. Now focus on that point. Now remove your finger and try to focus on the space between your nose and that finger. It's really hard. The senses cannot apprehend space itself directly, very easily. Yeah, space pervades all the world of name and form. Space inside the water glass. Is it separate from the room space? There's glass space. Am I doing a magic trick? Am I moving space? No. It's not so much that there's space in the glass, but the glass is in space. It feels like myself is inside my body and I'm looking out. But I tell you, the self is not in the body per se. The body is in the self. Just like when you dream. In your dream, you have a dream body which becomes a locus of perception. You peep out of the dream body at the dream world, and you have a dream ego identified with it. World outside, thoughts and feelings inside. But the dream body, you are not in the dream body. It's very clear when you wake up. The dream body is in you. Do you all see that? It's kind of like a spiritual optical illusion. That it feels like I'm inside. But the whole world is in consciousness. Consciousness pervades it all. Jim, do you think the earth is conscious, Gaia? What a silly question. Where is consciousness absent? There's no place that's unconscious. Now, the equipment may have very rudimentary expression of it, maybe just subtle. But maybe it has some deep chit. Have any of you read the book Overstory? It's a novel. Yes? No?
Nope.
No. Oh, it's fabulous. It's about trees. And ultimately, how sentient plant life is. It's very cool. It's not science fiction. It's all based in science. So like when you have a forest of trees and like bugs attack something on the edge, they send chemical signals through the root systems so that trees on the whole other side of the forest start producing the chemicals that ward off the bugs. They communicate. They just don't have senses like you and I do. It's amazing. It's a really, really good book. Is the planet sentient? Does it have a very slow move? I mean, you think of like a redwood. How old are the giant redwoods?
1,500 years, maybe more than that actually. 2,000-3,000 years.
You know, you and I, our lifespans are so short. Our spark of sentience happens so quickly. But can we say a redwood is insentient? Of course not. Just has a different sentience. Because there's no place where Krishna is not. All it varies is the equipment. Next verse.
Ami tvam surasangha vishanti kechat pita prajalayo gunanti swasti swasti tyuktva maharshi siddha sangha stuvanti tvam stutibhi pushkalabhi. Verily, into you enter these hosts of devas. Some extol you in fear with joined palms. May it be well, thus saying, Bands of great rishis and siddhas praise you with hymns sublime.
So everything, everywhere praises, extols, and loves the self. A lot of deep meaning to this. So let's not worry about do celestial beings exist, etc. They might not. Let's talk about you and me. The dharma of the human mind is that it is a pleasure-seeking, pain-avoiding mechanism. It will not change its nature. I like to say it is like phototropism in plants. Some plants, if you place them in the window, in time all the leaves turn towards the light. They can't help it, it's what they do. The human mind goes toward the good by its most complete understanding of the good. That's the only doubt we have, is where is the good? I may think it's drugs, sex, and rock and roll. I may think it's cash and prizes. I may think it's ambition, power, success, etc. But what's really happening when desire and object of desire become one, we call this the Anandamaya Kosha. For a moment, my mind is free from that underlying restlessness, discontent that I go around with all the time. I get relief, I get arrested. Actually, when the mind has come home and it's not extroverted with craving, I get a kiss of the bliss of Brahman. I get a taste of myself. You mean pleasure always tastes the same, meaning it does the same thing to my mind? It will vary in intensity and it will vary in duration, depending on how badly I wanted the object and how completely it satisfied that desire. You mean good sex, ice cream, and cash do the same thing to my mind? Yes. But I get deluded and confused because of the diversity of sensory experience. And in that illusion, in that delusion, I think, oh, that was great sex. Oh, that was great ice cream. Oh, I got a lot of money. And I attribute to the not self the qualities of the self. That's called adhyasa. That's another kind of superimposition. So everybody always is worshiping the self. You just don't know it. So when he says all the rishis, all the devas, all the gods, these are all various aspects of human behavior, qualities of mind. We do everything for the sake of the self. But yoga says, why don't you be efficient? Why don't you find a methodology to yoke the mind to the infinite without the dependence on an undependent undependable, and transient world. Because when I don't get what I want, I get angry, sad, disappointed. And in my spiritual delusion, I'm convinced happiness is people, places, things, and conditions. And we just use those to induce the state of Atmaramana, of reveling in the self. We call it the Anandamaya Kosha because it's done in ignorance. We experience it whenever we satisfy a desire. We experience it in deep sleep. But if we're in ignorance, we get attached to the objects that induced that state. That sets up the phenomenon of craving again. The tyranny of the need to control, dominate, get what I want. And unfortunately, as we said in a prior verse, everything in this world is temporary. And if you hold on to something that's transient, you get dragged. Hanging on to the bumper of a car that's going down the road. That's what we do in life. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
Rupam mahatte bahuvatra netram mahabaho bahubahurupadam bahudaram bahudamshtakaralam drishtva loka pravyathitasthaham nabha sprusham deeptamanekavarnam vyattananam दीप्तविशालनेत्रं दृष्ट्वा हि त्वां प्रव्यथितान्तरात्मा धृतिं न विन्दामि क्षमं च विष्णो. Having seen your immeasurable form with many mouths and eyes, O mighty armed, with many arms, thighs, and feet, with many stomachs and fearsome, with many tusks, the worlds are terrified, and so too am I. On seeing you with your form touching the sky, flaming in many colors, with mouths wide open, with large fiery eyes, I am terrified at heart, and I find neither courage nor peace, O Vishnu.
Now, it sounds like a bad acid trip. That's not what it means. What happens when the mind thins out, the state we call Tanu Manasaha, thinness of mind? The world of name and form starts to thin. We begin to see that everything that we've depended on, identified with, thought was meaningful and important, is void. Shunyata. And many of us, when we begin to perceive this, have great fear. Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. The world's disappearing. Or we burst into tears with great sadness. I'm losing my best friend. All the things I've depended on, because I've come to see that it's just trinkets and baubles. This is not just philosophy, it's an experience. So here Arjuna is seeing the world as it is. Again, we've got these two scriptural statements which we have to reconcile. We talked about Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. Brahman alone is real, the phenomenal world is an illusion. But Chandogya thunders Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. All this world is verily nothing but consciousness. It's Brahman. So when you look out at a phenomenal world, it's nothing but the self-evidence of Brahman. And the names and forms are like a hologram. Seen, but not real. Something there is that's real. And the world of name and form is also Brahman. It's all God. There's nothing to worry about. In the end, there's nothing really that we need to struggle and do from the standpoint of ego. It's all going to happen. It's all there. So here Arjuna getting a taste of this is a bit freaked out. And what the deeper teaching is, that may happen to us, but don't worry. Keep practicing abhyasa vairagyacha. Keep meditating and keep letting go. Keep tuning up. Keep letting go. Let the world melt. Let it fall away. Again, it's not about running away from it. It's just seeing it for what it is and giving up our unrealistic expectations of it. All right, next verse. What number are we on now?
25.
Did we miss number 22?
No, she did two verses together.
I know. That was 24 or 25, I believe. Or 23 and 24.
Did I miss one?
I think maybe.
Sorry, my page
I
is-
don't have the text in front of me, so I can't help you. Did you do 22?
It looks familiar, but let me read it out again. You might not have. Sorry.
Read the English.
No, we haven't.
We have not?
No.
Okay. Back up, 22. Thank you, Mark.
Sorry,
You see, we are now outside of time. 22 comes after 23 and 24.
Sorry, my pages are tilted. I get stuck.
It's all perfect. It's what we've been talking about.
Rudraditya vasavo ye cha sadhya vishveshvino marutashvoshmapascha gandharva yaksha surasiddha sangha vikshante tvam vismitaschaiva sarve. The Rudras, Adityas, Vasus, Sadhyas, Vishwadevas, the two Ashwins, Maruts, Ushmapas, and hosts of Gandharvas, Yakshas, Asuras, and Siddhas. They are all looking at you, all quite astonished.
Yes. So here, these are the various powers of heaven and earth in the underworld, meaning various states of consciousness within the human mind. And when we see ultimate reality, not only do we see the world of name and form is mithya, illusory, but all of my thoughts are illusory. Wonderful practice to take up. I cannot think a real thought, including the one I just thought it. A yogi quits believing their own mind. Rather than try to figure stuff out, get answer, resolve all the doubts, give up the mind itself. So all these celestial beings, positive and negative, nothing but mind states in the end. Oh, what am I going to do about work? Don't believe it. Give it up. Oh, this is really cool. I did so well. Let it go. Oh, I'm so afraid the economy's going to crash. Don't believe it. Oh, everything's going to work out. My business is going to be so. Don't believe it. Doesn't mean the form is not going to happen or is going to happen. Just don't get emotionally attached and involved. What's real, Krishna? All right. Skipping ahead again, next verse.
Damsha karalani chate mukhani drishtve vakala nalasannibhani disho na jane na labhe cha sharma prasida devesha jagannivasa. Having seen your mouths fearsome, with tusks blazing like pralaya fires, I know not the four quarters, nor do I find peace. Be gracious, O Lord of the Devas, O abode of the universe.
So now Arjuna is overwhelmed by this divine vision. So being in the presence of the avatar, he's been given a view of reality, but he's not really yet ready. He's overwhelmed.
Question.
Yes,
What's a deva?
Deva, it means what God. Deva's a god. But in the context of Gita, it has three meanings depending on context. The first is the sense organs. The second is the presiding principle over a field of human endeavor. So I'm a musician, so I propitiate the music god. You're a businessman, you propitiate the business god. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And the third possibility is a force of nature. But they're all given names and jobs in heaven. The closest thing we have to the devas in the Western world is actually within Catholicism, where we have the cult of saints. What religion were you raised to?
Episcopalian.
You know about saints.
Yeah.
So you have
Catholics
saints.
with divorce.
Pardon me?
Catholics with divorce.
Yeah. And female priests.
Yes.
But the point is, you have Saint Anthony, who's the god of lost objects, Saint Jude, who's the deva of lost causes, Saint Cecilia, who's the deva of music. See, there are departments in heaven that the saints run, but it's very similar to the same idea as the devas in Hinduism. And we create them. We create them as ways to try to understand. So if you've lost an object, the old Catholic prayer is Saint Anthony, please come round. I seem to have lost my such and such. I know it can't be found. Did you ever do that prayer? Yeah. It's a spell. It's a prayer. It's no different than the propitiation of the devas in Hinduism. You start a business, you do a Lakshmi Puja. It's not any different. Does it work? Well, what the Master Jesus said, whatsoever you ask, believing, so shall you receive. It was his way of talking about Sankalpa. Get into that teaching. Was there a question over here?
No.
Okay. Does that make it clear about Davis?
Yeah, that's really helpful.
Yeah. All right, next verse. Asuras are demons. We have usually two classes of demons. We have asuras and rakshasas. The asuras are usually angry, and the rakshasas are usually greedy or hungry. So it's that part of our psyche where I'm pissed off all the time. And a rakshasa is one who's greedy all the time. Rudras are the destructive powers that we have. And then there's celestial damsels, We're always bathing around sages, get all upset. All right, going on.
Ami chotam dhritarashtrasya putra sarve saheva nipala samghe Bhishmo drona sutaputrastasthasau sahasmadi diyerapi yodamukhe Vaktrani te tvaramana vishanti Damshra karalani bhayanakani kachitvilagna dashanantareshu samdrishyante churnitairuttamange. All the sons of Dhritarashtra with hosts of kings of the earth, Bhishma, Drona, and the son of a charioteer Karna, with the warrior chieftains of war of ours, into your mouths with terrible teeth and fearful to behold, they precipitately enter. Some are found sticking in the gaps between the teeth with their heads crushed into pulp.
So Arjun has now seen this terrible truth. All the people in the army of the Kauravas are destroyed. But then he also said, everybody on our side, the Pandavas, they are destroyed. What does he mean by this? Everybody dies. Yeah, but so and so, they at least lived a long, healthy life. My friend died young. I have news for you. If you die at 80, 85, 90, and you're not spiritually prepared, you're going to be full of fear. And if you can easily let go, it's not problematic. It's a paradox, actually. Children tend to die easily with a lot of fear and resistance. They haven't built up all the attachments that you and I have. But everyone dies. Will all the Kauravas die in this war? Some will. And those that don't die in the war, guess what's going to happen? They're going to die later. Pandavas, they're going to win the war. Guess what's going to happen? They're going to die also. Now, this is not to be seen as something grim. It always amazes me when people come to me and there's a fight in their family and they say, "Oh, I'm not talking to so and so." Oh dear. How will you feel if they die and you didn't reconcile? You never know. You never know when Lord Yama is going to come for you or someone else. Make peace with those around you. Clean up your side of the street. If you've wronged someone, admit it and apologize and try to make it right. And if someone has wronged you, forgive them. Why waste precious time caught up in regret and resentment and blame? Oh, why did I do that? I knew it was so bad. I'll never be able to let go of it. Well, knock yourself out. It's just foolishness. What they did was so bad, I could never forgive them. Well, resentment is a poison we brew for another and drink ourselves. It's stupid. Why waste precious time? I'm an old man. And I tell you, an entire life goes by in the blink of an eye. Don't waste it. Because death comes for us all. Don't waste time. Regret, resentment, revenge. Make peace with the world. Any thoughts on this? So here Arjuna is seeing the stark reality of the phenomenal world. Fundamental impermanence of everyone and everything. But as yogis, we also know the being of everyone. Never born, never die. even the subtle body has a relative immortality. I was watching this video of this fellow Westerners talking, this guy, a dad or somebody talking with this toddler. It was like a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old. They were talking about, I used to be 41. And then I was very old. You know, they're obviously remembering previous lives. Many, many young children will do that. It takes a while to forget them. As a matter of fact, he just starts talking about when he was old. Stuff like that. It's very, very interesting. All right, we'll end here tonight. What verse are we on for next week?
28.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Namaha. Hari Om.